Welcome to TwistedBrush Pro Studio. I'm using version 19.12. In this video I'm going to cover the Art Pro image filter art set. Within that art set there's a series of brushes which allow you to apply one or more filters to your strokes after you put them on your page. I'm going to start by selecting one of the brushes from that art set. You can see in the Art Pro category there's Art Pro image filters. First one I'm going to select is this Pro Stroke image filter. We can see here in the brush control panel that it has a number of standard control options. In addition, it has these 5 buttons called Select Filter 1 through 5. The default of the brush is just a fairly standard looking brush. What I'm going to do first is just hide this background layer and go create a new layer above that, just so we can see the transparency as we're working. And again, I'm just going to show we have a very standard stroke here. What you can do now is apply one or more filters that you want to apply to the stroke every time you finish a stroke with this brush. So I'm going to set that up, say select filter 1. I'm going to start with a glass filter. And we can see here, because I already have a stroke on the page, that with the preview checked, it's going to give you a preview of what that will look like once it's applied to each of your strokes. Once you're happy with the settings, you can say set brush image filter. And I'm going to basically leave the settings more or less the same. Because it was just a preview and we're just selecting the filter, it wasn't applied to the stroke. Let's clear that layer. And now when we draw a stroke, we see that that filter is applied automatically. And that will happen to every stroke that we do with this brush. In addition, we can do various changes to that, and every time that filter will be applied to that stroke. So it gives you a lot of variety, because you can now apply any filter to your strokes when you're done. However, you could also layer your filters one on top of the other. So here I'm going to select the Select Filter 2 button. And now let's go and select under the Generate category, let's select Plasma. And set a variety here that looks interesting. And I'm just going to say set brush image filter. Now we've associated that filter as well with this brush. Let's clear this layer again so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to put back the wash opacity back at full strength. Now when we do our stroke, we can see we're actually applying 2 filters, the glass filter and this plasma filter. Now let's apply one more just for the purposes of looking at this. Another filter which is very handy to apply is this glow outer. Let's select color red, maybe give it a little bigger size and a little more opacity. And again, we could see in a preview what that's going to look like. I'm going to say set brush image filter. Now let's clear that layer again and let's do a stroke. And now we are applying 3 filters to this stroke every time we use that brush. We could change colors, but it's not going to really matter because we're replacing that color with the filter that we set up here in Select Filter 2. And when you go and select that button again, it will go back to the filter that you currently have selected and the current settings, so you could always go and tweak it or select something else for that item as well. I'm just going to hit here to cancel that. Now one of the cool things with version 19.12 is these filters are now saved with this brush. So here if I go and say save preset, and give it a unique name, just say stroke image filter 1 and say OK, and we say exit. Now if we change some values of some of these and say set again and draw, And now let's say save preset again, and let's call this one number 2. Exit. Now we have 2 different brushes saved. We could have changed any of these filters with those. And let's go back to the first one. And we can see it's slightly different. It's the only difference here is that we have a different plasma filter applied, but we could have changed all 5 of those. In addition, it's not just saving them to presets. We could have also done it here. I'm holding the Shift key and clicking. We've made a copy of that brush, but we could also now say load preset number 1 here, load preset number 2 here. And now we have these 2 different strokes. Just to show it a little bit different, let's go and change the color of the glow on one of those. So here we got a green glow, and here we have the red glow. So it gives you a basic idea of how the brushes in this art set work. I'm going to use one more example. Let's change the page to just a standard image here, and let's select a different brush. Let's go and pick Pro Masked Image Brush. Now this is going to be a little different in that it's going to just mask the area of your image and apply a filter after you've done that. Now because we don't have any filter selected currently for the default brush from the art set, nothing happened. Let's go and select the filter. Let's say we want to, just for demonstration purposes, make it easy to see. Let's put a blur. Let's do box blur and make it quite extreme, and set brush image filter. Now when we use this brush, it's going to apply that blur just to wherever that stroke is. And we can set, again, this has a number of fairly standard controls here. Blur or the filter strength, which would mean how strongly these filters are applied, the softness of the edge. And here you can see now it was much softer that we did. So that allowed you to, rather than paint new strokes, to selectively filter parts of images. And again, you can layer these filters one right after the other, so you can build fairly complex filter sets. Now, doing extreme sets of filters was possible previously with the script brush tool, but this is actually a more powerful solution now, that you can go back and edit these anytime and associate them with brushes that can be saved. So you can get back, you could have collections of standard sets of filters that you want to use when editing photos or creating new images. So that kind of gives you the overview of how these brushes in the Art Pro image filter art set are used. There's a number of variety of these. Some of them are applying the filters to strokes, such as this one, and these 4, and these 2. The other ones here that have mask in their name, they are working on creating a mask and applying the filter to that area with the area that's not masked, which would be the area of the stroke. There's one other one here which is really unique, this Pro Image List. This one actually defaults to having 9 filters, and this actually works like a standard filter. It's not working off your stroke or on the selected area of your image. It's going to work on your entire image area. So let's just do a quick example here. Let's say we pick stipple for the first filter, and then maybe a motion blur. Let's see what that preview is going to look like. Motion blur going up, and set that. So now we'll click. We could see there's the first filter was applied, which was stipple, which would give it a grain, and the second filter was the motion blur. So now you kind of see there's these lines and of that filter applied. So similar to the other brushes that work on a stroke or the mask, you can also create now sets of brushes which string together a series of filters that you want to apply or that you use frequently. So again, that gives you a good overview, I think, of how these brushes in the Art Pro image filter art set are used.